The announcement of Lydia's arrival came in a crisp tone as the door swung open. Hearing her name called by Quinn, I froze, my mind racing to identify the visitor. The answer came quickly. It was, without a doubt, my sister, Lydia. Quinn kept repeating her name, and as a chill ran through me, I snapped back to the present. Realizing the weight of the moment, I knew I had to document it. Silently, I pulled out my smartphone and recorded the scene, then slipped away unnoticed. Later, when they emerged from the bedroom, their faces drained of color upon seeing me. "That's right," I said, my voice steady. "I've sent the video of you two to Gabriel. Now let's sit down and figure out what's next, the four of us." At my words, Lydia's face grew even paler. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice shaking. "Exactly what I said," I replied, holding up my phone. "I've got proof." "What have you done?" Lydia's panicked reaction was instant, and she lunged toward me. "My name is Lenny, a 45-year-old homemaker with twin boys in 6th grade. Twins are common in our family, including me and my identical twin sister Lydia. Despite our shared appearance, our bond was more about rivalry than sisterly love. From childhood, I was constantly compared to Lydia, who was seen as charming and outgoing while I was quiet and introverted. This dynamic sparked my admiration for her, but Lydia seemed indifferent, often twisting situations to her benefit. Growing up, Lydia always took charge, leaving me with the roles no one wanted. Whether in games or school performances, her presence overshadowed mine. Despite my efforts, her manipulation continued, reaching a tipping point when she tried to control my high school choice. For the first time, I stood up to her, choosing my own path, which led to a heated confrontation that exposed her true feelings about me. Despite the conflict, I pushed forward with my education, achieving my goals on my own. As an adult, I found comfort in my career and met my husband, Quimby. Our shared roots brought us closer, and when he asked me out, it felt like a dream. "I really like you, Lenny. I'd love for you to go out with me." His words filled me with overwhelming joy. I had feelings for Quimby too, but unlike Lydia, who radiated charm effortlessly, I had little experience with romance from my school years. To think Quimby felt the same way was almost unbelievable. "I'd love to, thank you," I replied, thrilled at the idea of my first relationship. From the moment we started dating, I poured my heart into making Quimby happy, cooking meals and packing lunches for him. Quimby began spending more time at my place, and it felt like we were practically living together. "Lenny, I'll handle dinner tonight," he'd say. But it wasn't just me taking care of him. Quimby pitched in with chores, and working together was fun. It convinced me we could be a great married couple. 3 years into our relationship, we decided to tie the knot, a choice that brought me immense happiness. But one worry lingered. "You're a twin, right?" "I'd like to meet your sister," Quimby mentioned casually. In the 3 years we'd been together, I hadn't introduced him to Lydia. Since our falling out in middle school, a deep divide had separated us. But with marriage on the horizon, introducing them was unavoidable. When I finally worked up the nerve to call Lydia after years of silence, she seemed surprised by my engagement news. She was busy, as always, but grudgingly agreed to meet Quimby. Lydia hadn't changed since childhood, still as dismissive as ever. I had to be the bigger person and swallow my pride. We planned to meet at a restaurant, but Lydia, true to form, showed up late, dressed extravagantly. Despite our parents' attempts to ease tensions, Lydia's sharp comments persisted, targeting Quimby with rude remarks. By the end of the meal, I was drained, but her words stuck with me. As we left, Quimby said, "Lydia's quite a personality, isn't she?" "The opposite of you, Lenny." I forced a smile, feeling a twinge of insecurity. "Maybe you could learn a thing or two from Lydia," he added. "She's always smiling, great at conversation, and pretty." If I'd met her first. His words stunned me. I had shared my unease about Lydia with him. so his comment cut deep. Then why didn't you marry Lydia? She even called you handsome, I shot back, hurt by his teasing. He quickly backtracked. Sorry, just a joke. I'm glad I met you, Lenny. I don't have any feelings for Lydia. Still shaken, I couldn't shake the discomfort. I wasn't about to cancel our engagement over this, but I hoped he understood. You shouldn't say things that praise Lydia and belittle me, I told him. It was a joke, Quimby apologized, but the sting remained. Lydia's a nice person, though. You shouldn't be jealous of your sister. Let's all get along as a family. Now that we're adults, things are different. Despite my doubts, I nodded. I wanted Quimby to support me, not push me toward Lydia, but arguing felt too exhausting. A few days later, a message from Lydia sent a chill through me. Is Quimby too good for you? Should I take him off your hands? Her words were icy. I fired back. What are you talking about? She called, laughing. Just what I said. It's hard to believe someone as boring as you is getting married before me. I couldn't stand the idea of Quimby being treated like a prize to be fought over between us twins. I confronted Lydia, raising my voice. I warned Quimby about her, urging him to be cautious, but he brushed it off lightly. It's flattering to be liked that much. Don't worry, Lydia's not serious, he said, laughing. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that Quimby had changed since meeting Lydia. Despite his assurances, my trust in him wavered. As time passed, Lydia's spiteful messages continued, but I ignored them. I hoped for peace with her while building a happy marriage. When I heard Lydia had gotten married, despite our strained bond, I felt genuinely happy for her. Learning that Lydia had found someone hit me hard. I realized how unfair I'd been, marrying Quimby only after she found her own happiness. Surprisingly, Lydia apologized through our parents, and we started talking again. She seemed different, calmer, almost like the sister I once adored. I never imagined we'd laugh together again, so I was overjoyed. Lydia even introduced me to her husband, Gabriel, who seemed kind and devoted. With both of us married, our bond strengthened, much to our parents' joy. I wanted to make up for lost time. Then one day, I fell sick at work and came home early. Something felt off when I entered the house. Though it should have been empty, I heard voices from the bedroom. Recognizing Quimby's voice, I hesitated to confront him. The tone of his voice made my blood run cold. It was unmistakably intimate. Shaking, I decided to catch them in the act, recording with my phone. What I saw was worse than I'd feared. Opening the door, I heard Quimby say Lydia's name. Stunned, I filmed the scene before quietly retreating. In shock, I forgot my illness, staring blankly at my phone. Soon after, the bedroom door opened, and Quimby and Lydia appeared. Quimby paled, asking why I was there. Lydia, defiant, declared she'd take everything. I stayed calm, smiling at her threats. As tensions rose, Lydia lunged at me, but Quimby stepped in. Trying to ease the situation, he begged for forgiveness and tried to shield Lydia. But her actions couldn't be ignored. Despite Quimby's pleas, I couldn't excuse her betrayal. It was harsh, but Lydia had brought this on herself, knowing the risks. That's too cruel, I said, but Quimby, as usual, rushed to her defense, infuriating me further. I glared at him, voicing my concern for Lydia. Thinking Lydia's the only one who'll lose her family and job is a big mistake, I shouted. Quimby flinched, sweating, as if finally realizing the situation. I told him I'd sent the video to the company's main email, including his department and name. His face fell as Gabriel's call ended. I kicked them out and called Gabriel to explain. Sorry to bother you at work, but it's about the video, right? Gabriel's calm voice confirmed. I apologized, explaining I'd been asked to gather proof due to suspicions about Lydia. Gabriel admitted he'd consulted me because he sensed something off with her. Despite my shock, I stayed composed while filming, securing evidence of Quimby's affair. Gabriel thanked me for documenting it, confessing he'd felt something was wrong with Lydia. He reassured me, saying discovering an affair was shocking enough, let alone with my own sister. We agreed to talk later, and I hung up, tears streaming down my face. For my sons and my future, I knew I had to stay strong. That evening, when Quimby returned, I confronted him about Lydia. He snapped back, blaming me for his situation, which only strengthened my resolve. Crying over someone like him was pointless. There's nothing to do about it. Do what you want. You get the situation, right? If we divorce, I stated firmly that I'd take the kids. Quimby's weak attempt to use our sons as leverage was pitiful, and I called him out. Stop being absurd! Divorce is inevitable, I said bluntly. He still didn't seem to grasp the gravity of his actions, especially the likely loss of his job due to his affair during work hours. His obliviousness only made him look more foolish. As Quimby begged to start over and forgive his infidelity, I asked about Gabriel's concerns about Lydia's behavior. His vague response confirmed my suspicions. It wasn't a one-time affair. Dropping the topic, I told my sons about Quimby's betrayal the next day. Despite their young age, they supported me without hesitation, bringing me to tears. We moved to my parents' house, who were stunned to learn about Lydia and Quimby's actions. My mother tearfully apologized for always making me tolerate Lydia's behavior and vowed to keep their distance from her. I began commuting to work from their home. Quimby's endless calls and messages begging for forgiveness only irritated me. His attempts to win me back with declarations of love and dreams of a happy family were laughable. For a moment I almost wavered, but my son's laughter at his messages reminded me of their absurdity. Reluctantly, I agreed to meet Quimby to sign divorce papers at a cafe, following Gabriel's advice to keep things calm in public. When Quimby and Lydia arrived, it was clear Lydia had lost Gabriel's favor, a harsh wake-up call for her actions. As we sat to sign, both hesitated, hoping to avoid the inevitable. But I held firm, reminding them of their betrayals and the consequences. They eventually signed, and with help from a lawyer Gabriel recommended, I finalized the divorce. After it was done, Quimby quickly proposed to Lydia, admitting he'd had feelings for her from the start. Meanwhile, Lydia, who had truly loved Gabriel, was left abandoned and later lost her job. When I asked Gabriel about it, he revealed Lydia had been bad-mouthing me to him for months, calling me useless and wasteful. Learning she'd gone to such lengths to undermine me was horrifying. It was a stark reminder of how far people will go to deceive others. Gabriel apologized, admitting he'd consulted me out of concern for my safety. I never imagined it would lead to such dramatic events with Quimby. It's okay, it's behind us now, I reassured him, though the weight of it lingered. We ended the call, agreeing to stay in touch for updates on divorce compensation and legal matters. Gabriel explained that the hefty divorce compensation forced Quimby and Lydia to marry and live together. Lydia, disowned by our parents, reluctantly accepted Quimby's proposal, feeling she had no family left. But according to the lawyer, Lydia couldn't accept her situation and later divorced Gabriel to marry Quimby. Despite my sympathy for the lawyer, who endured Lydia's harsh words, I was grateful for his and Gabriel's support. Over the years, we pursued divorce compensation and child support, and I leaned on their help. 5 years later, the wounds had healed, but the scars remained. Then, unexpectedly, the lawyer called, saying Lydia wanted to meet. Hesitant, I agreed, with Gabriel joining for support. At the cafe, Lydia and Quimby looked somber as they raised the topic. Lydia revealed she had renal failure and needed a kidney transplant. Quimby blamed me for her declining health, but I stood firm, refusing to take responsibility for their choices. When Lydia begged for a kidney, I was stunned by her nerve. Quimby argued that as twins I owed it to her, but Gabriel stepped in, pointing out the risks and questioning their entitlement. Their pleas didn't sway me, and I left the cafe, determined not to be manipulated again. Despite their desperate attempts to guilt me, I stayed resolute. With Gabriel's support, I walked away, leaving them to face their consequences. While I couldn't forgive them, I hoped they'd learn from their mistakes and move forward. As I continued living happily with my family, I stayed in touch with Gabriel, who became a trusted friend. Though he had feelings for me, I wasn't ready to return them yet. For now, I focused on my sons and their well-being, knowing that one day I'd find the courage to pursue my own happiness again.